Disclaimer. Given the subject material of this video, I feel like I have to cut the flow of this video from the very beginning to give this a little notice. Yes, I will be talking about people who have undeniably abused YouTube's DMCA takedown system. They can deploy whatever mental gymnastics to try and deny it as much as they want. The facts do not care for their fairy tales. As such, I will be negative and I will have insults throughout each section. They are meant for the entertainment of the viewers and nothing else, and therefore should not be taken to a personal level. Additionally, I will fight back against any fraudulent takedown requests levied against me by those in question in this video. I will fight, and I will win, no matter the cost. As everything I'm about to share is so far beyond fair use, it's ridiculous that I even have to say this in the first place. Now with that out of the way, let's get on to the video. "2022 might as well go down in history as the year of the DMCA abuse. Because aside from war breaking out, gas being retarded expensive, and Elden Ring releasing, I can't think of anything more telling of the times than stories of the DMCA being abused and misunderstood for the sake of silencing people on the fucking internet. Which is illegal in all 50 states and completely ass-fucks any reputation you could otherwise have in a community, whether it's online or in the real world. And yet this has become so common that we can expect more and more to pop up due to the fact that YouTube does literally nothing about such an issue that wrecks the users making the content people actually want to visit the site for. So today I thought I'd break down the most prominent DMCA abusing scumbags from top to bottom just to put into perspective how fucking wild it is that YouTube thinks this is no problem whatsoever despite the massive community outcry. Yeah, I bet a lot of y'all forgot about this one. I know I did for a bit. But these gasoline chuggers had a fucking parade with takedowns ready for literally everyone reviewing that god-awful Halo show they released. And the worst part of all? They got off the hook 110%. Yes, they cucked dozens if not hundreds of people just for talking about a show that most people agree is the Diet Coke equivalent of Mandalorian, despite each video being transformative as fuck, and filled with the commentary and criticism the show not only rightfully deserves, but also rightfully makes these videos fair use and the opposite of copyright infringement. Why were they this dedicated to silencing people who care about the show enough to make people aware of it? In some cases being the very thing that brings some channels back from the dead, especially when about a month and a half after they started such a crusade, they abandoned it entirely? Who's to say? Probably because they were given word from their corporate overlords about how much of a PR disaster they'd made by overstepping the boundaries of their copyright. Thus, they stopped and hoped people would have such a short attention span that it'd be forgotten in a matter of months. In a way, they were right. And they were pretty lucky. Even though YouTubers themselves were very unlikely to even attempt a lawsuit against such an easy case of fair use, CBS's only viable strategy would have been drawing the case out until the opposition can't keep up the costs. But they're also lucky that another prominent example of their same crime was about to steal the spotlight entirely, making it even easier for them to get away with everything. And who do they have to thank for that? Of course, it's none other than... I'm gonna be as quick as I can because A, I'm sick to death of talking about the Raging Manlet after making 4.5 videos and watching dozens of others talk about it, and B, his reputation is the most fucked as a result of the controversy. It kinda says something when in my last video on the subject, I had to keep reminding someone of the fact that Quantum did in fact abuse the DMCA system on YouTube and committed perjury, because they were more focused on everything else that Quantard did. Even if the DMCA abuse is just one part of the laundry list of fucked up things he did it nonetheless, and like everyone else on this list, can't grasp the basics of fair use while claiming to know it's the most abused thing on YouTube. But Repzion has given Quantard his one warning to fuck off after attempting to take down Rep's video. Has Rep's mother been called as a result? I don't know. I don't follow Repzion nor know much about his past. But apparently he's one of the two big names that wrecked a piece of shit like Onision to the point to where me saying that name is probably the first time you've even heard it this decade. So even if Quantum wasn't going through such a massive viewer bleed thanks to the drama dying, he's just walked himself into a minefield. Because the thing with DMCA abusing scumbags that you never hear about them is the fact that if they get a couple successful counter notifications to their takedown request, YouTube will delete the channel requesting the fraudulent takedowns.
The only thing that will solve this absolute clusterfuck is fighting back and holding the platform to its own word. For example, did you know that if Quantum TV files false DMCAs and then does not reply to counter notifications, that means he gets his channel removed? While that does need to happen a few times, yes, this is actually a way you can get rid of Quantum TV.
Thank you, Emily, for putting that better than I ever could have. you're awesome. The problem is that to even try counter notifications, personal information has to be submitted, and it's completely understandable that most people don't want to give up their anonymity, particularly when dealing with a psychopath like Quantum. However, it's also understandable that it's pointless to even attempt getting him banned, because as proven time and time again, he'll keep coming back again and again and again and again, no matter how many of his channels get terminated. Actman never stated this in any of his videos, but he found evidence to suggest Quantum was ban evading even before the Apotheosis ban. I can buy it, considering just how much time and energy Quantum dedicated and is still dedicating to this situation. He clearly has more free time than brain cells. Thus, him being repeatedly banned and starting over isn't the least bit surprising. So again, what would be the point to getting his channel deleted? It would be a minor inconvenience at most to the DMCA abusing, mother-calling scam artist. Just another reason people like Rich and Actman should have dedicated time to suing the fuck out of him for the shit he pulled on them specifically. But, regardless, the drama is dead and buried, and along with it, Quantum's credibility as a reviewer and internet personality. Thanks to literally everyone finding out what they have about him and seeing the downright criminal lengths he's gone to in the hopes of silencing criticism of him, he's been painted into a corner he'll never get out of. As stated, if he keeps attempting to file false DMCA takedowns and receives enough pushback, which is guaranteed since all people would have to say is Quantum and bullshit takedown before the mob would come to support whoever the next victim is, yeah, Quantum's fucked 6 ways to Sunday. He can't so much as whisper one of his homophobic or racial slurs without it being added to the mountain of evidence of his shitty behavior. Doesn't matter if he tries it as a joke, or if he starts legit spurging out over lesbians in a church again. He'll inevitably keep trying to abuse the DMCA anytime a certain criticism of him comes to his attention, until he's banned or on the brink of it again. He seems to think that bringing up a supposed copyright number over a video made for a public platform negates the Fair Use Act. Much like someone below him, he's utterly wrong, and any lawyer would tell him that exactly. It doesn't matter because he's on his way back to being president of the Irrelevant Club, thanks to people moving on from this dead horse. Goodbye and good riddance. Easily the least egregious, and yet equally full of shit person on this entire list, is Marlis, otherwise known as Fratanga's very own Quant-Mam. He'll break the story down in more detail, but in essence, PlayStation fanboys created the perfect storm of deception and autism. And how did they do it? By simping for a Sasquatch that just so happened to tweet all the same things as the other corporate slaves that built up a console war. And once enough followers came, this totally legit grill gamer realized that the people who were worshipping her were the same people pulling off impressive mental gymnastics to justify $70 games that are barely worth $20. Then that would mean they clearly got some money to spare, right? Perhaps on an OnlyFans. Nobody questioned this one bit. But when the simps inevitably came in their shorts and in her DMs, they were greeted with an e-slut that couldn't even Google basic porno lingo before trying to sell totally legit ass pics. Honestly reminded me of the time my dumbass brother asked me what MILF stands for after his first trip on the hub. Okay, you might say that's somewhat understandable for a preteen, but less so when he thought brunette was also an acronym. And when e-bitches sound as dumb as that, that's all you need to figure out that that's a fucking catfish. And it turns out the dude running the Sasquatch's OnlyFans got the ass pics from another OnlyFans account and tried to sell it off as their own, and then conveniently disappeared from the site before anyone could report this fraud. Pretty shitty as it is, no? And no doubt I've gotten the chode of a misogynist up or two just by addressing this Sony phony that happens to lack a baloney pony. But a story like this in 2022 just wouldn't be complete without the dude running these accounts filing bullshit forms on YouTube to silence criticism of their borderline criminal activities. And if you think for a second that YouTube sniffed out this bullshit and prevented them from cucking Papa Frit when he was covering this bit of news, then you need to pass that bong around, because you're clearly on something stronger than Ronda Rousey's biceps. Thankfully though, this dumbass has become a complete ghost of the internet, running off to the bank with the $40 they got before getting caught. No doubt they're gonna be back once the internet forgets, and honestly, I can't wait to insult them and the virgins paying for the first results of a Google search. I know I said I'd be as quick as I can earlier, but this time I actually mean it, because I've addressed it in a past video that Destiny just isn't my cup of tea, and therefore I can only talk shit from the outside looking in. But nonetheless, this case is fascinating purely for the mental gymnastics one has to go through in order to avoid calling this a well-deserved corporate burn. And because for once, one of these knuckle draggers decided they wanted to stand out from the other pieces of shit. See, our buddy Nazo here, and yes, I'm adding an L to his name because of the massive L's he's taking now, and because I like to imagine he's the type of internet-addicted nerdling that's forever stuck in a nasally voice like this, and a disgusting neck beard. Anyway, Nazo decided he'd abuse the DMCA system out of spite, more so than silencing criticism or anything of the sort, because prior to this he was a complete nobody, so criticism was never even a problem. Apparently, he thought any game with basically any marketing from Sony was going to be a-okay with him re-uploading the music of that game. And I gotta tell you, it doesn't matter how old it is or how dirty they or the actual developers do the game in terms of marketing or anything like that. Speaking from personal experience, I know they're not letting anyone use their music for shit. But apparently Nazo here was just so shocked and betrayed by this harsh revelation, and he was faced with a choice. Take the L and move on from trying to upload another company's music unedited and uncredited, or the path he ended up actually taking that involved impersonating the company that solely exists to secure Bungie's copyrights, submitting nearly 100 takedown requests just to spite other Destiny YouTubers and by extension Bungie, and misleading the reasonably confused masses into thinking Bungie equals bad just like his bitter ass. Sad to say, his plan almost certainly would have worked even worse, or at least given him the chance to send even more fraudulent takedowns than what he was able to get away with. Yeah, I think he absolutely would have gotten away with so much more. The mouth breather outright admitted it would have, had he not been so stupid as to try and make it look like Bungie was so dedicated to this mass purge of any Destiny music that they do it to themselves. Now, I don't know how tightly knit the Destiny devs are with the community, so who knows. Maybe I'm completely full of shit in assuming they'd brush off the community outcry like a nothing burger if they themselves weren't directly affected by his DMCA abuse. But that was his biggest fuck up that made finding out who was actually filing these takedowns the top priority of both the community and Bungie themselves. And what kills me is the fact that once Bungie finally found their culprit, after 3 months of non-answers and bullshit from YouTube doing fuck all, Nazo was giving his best surprise Pikachu face once they found out it was him, giving all kinds of bullshit excuses to avoid saying he tried to rip off Bungie for the sake of sharing their music on YouTube. Citing, and I quote, "I believe these videos were flagged by mistake due to parts of them bearing resemblance to the original music they were derived from. The video contains self-modified sequences, blah 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 blah, which falls under the transformative case of fair use." Unless this guy somehow had the instruments and talent to do a cover of this music and was so damn good that people thought he was the actual composers, that's certainly a steaming load of bullshit. The fucker uploaded music from Witch Queen just to test the waters before sending out 38 copyright takedowns in a single day. Assuming he wasn't pulling an all-nighter that day, that's roughly 2 takedown requests every hour for 19 hours straight, plus 58 more down the line. And he wants to act like that was somehow justified because he couldn't share some music he didn't own in the first place. Get fucked, bitch! Thanks to this ridiculous dedication to being a bitter little fuck, Bungie's rightfully pissed off and laying down the heat in court to the tune of $7.6 million. Hot damn. Just gonna say, there isn't a chance in hell of the court siding with Nazo in this, and I hope they stream the case just like they did for Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, just so we can hear the judge tell him that when you play stupid games, you win stupid fucking prizes. And unless Nazo finds a way to steal 82 Dodge Vipers in top condition without getting caught, yeah, he's gonna be in debt for life. Congratulations, you earned it, and you made the company you despise look like the badasses they were 20 years ago. You really fucking played yourself in this.
Fetch me their souls!
And here we arrive at the one most likely to try taking down this very video. And just to reiterate what I said in the beginning, if anything happens, I will fight back, and I will win, even if I have to sell a kidney on the black market just to cover the costs. So I'm going to preemptively tell the bitch in question to get bent and move along. With that out of the way, let's get on to the show with the internet's current favorite father-stabbing, lawsuit-filing, mold-huffing, possible-diddling, extortionist lolcow, who unfortunately looks like a fatter version of my dad. That's not a joke. Good God, there's so much I hate about him already. And I haven't even brought up his own special flavor of DMCA abuse. See, it doesn't matter if it's a meme, his username, a clip, a still image, a copy of his terrible thumbnails, or basic geometric shapes that he no doubt got off kindpng.net and then dyed a certain color. Acer seems to think that he owns it all and any use must be infringing on him, so he must sue for millions or settle for the nuking of other content creators for borrowing his oh-so-original ideas. Never mind that aside from a handful of copyright strikes being approved by YouTube and at least one small channel being deleted as a result, he fails at every single one of these cases, to the point that the courts have told him they're not dealing with him any more than 4 times a year. Yet it all still continues, because the mold huffer is physically incapable of learning from mistakes. By the way, for once my insults aren't actual insults. Unlike the others that I call a mouth breather or a gasoline chugger or what have you, I actually mean it this time. Anytime you see a clip of Acer in his apartment, not only will your skin decide it's had enough torture, you'll notice that the corners are practically an inch or two thick with black mold. And instead of trying to clean that filth or fucking move away, he instead expects people to believe that he's filed for the images and clips to be protected by the Copyright Office. I don't believe that for one bit, because I can't imagine anyone at the office taking one look and not filling their trash can with vomit before calling the health department to have that shit condemned. But regardless, Acer can't stand the tiniest amount of criticism, whether it's about his living arrangements, his mental issues made worse by his hallucinations of the mold goddess, his opinions on games based on misunderstandings or manipulative non-arguments, or his absurd legal history. See, it all hurts his fees, and he thinks anyone talking about him in any light other than, "Good points, bro, take my money," isn't actual criticism or fair commentary, but it's just harassment and doxing. Never mind him constantly advertising where you can find his legal history on public records. No, guys, it's all harassment, and we should just let him lie and sue frivolously in order to line his pockets. I mean, he's just such a poor, broken dude who needs literal trillions of dollars hand-delivered to him because he lacks any skill or creativity to earn money on his own.
Arseholes!
Makes you wonder how he keeps the electricity and internet up. I mean, squatting in a molded room in a condemned building sounds right up his alley, but I guess it'll go down as one of the internet's greatest mysteries of how he funds his hobbies or feeds his 400-pound ass. We at least know how he gets away with the constant lawsuits. He files informal pauperous and gets dismissed because of how ridiculous his terms are. Whether it's expecting way more than the maximum damages for something he did to himself, or him giving completely unrealistic expectations, he's rightfully dismissed for all this, and then he has the nerve to try calling the courts corrupt for not letting him win, in spite of the evidence of perjury.
Now, within this court document, Acerthorn asserts to the court, however, at one point in the video, some strange noises could be heard. I do not know what these strange noises were. The best description I can give is that it sounded like a dog barking, but I do not have a dog, and I did not cause them. However, whatever they were, these strange noises constituted the only interesting and memorable part of this otherwise boring and contentless livestream. As such, it constitutes the heart of this livestream. Alright, so within his own statement of fact put before the court, Acerthorn states that the strange noises contained within the video clip were the heart of the clip, meaning in terms of fair use that it could serve as a direct market replacement, as that was the only content of value within the entire accidental livestream. But here's the thing that stood out for me, and it, unfortunately, because I thought my mind worked faster than that, took a few minutes to fully grasp just what a large mistake Acerthorn has made here. Now, he states the quote-unquote heart of the livestream was taken by this video clip. However, Acerthorn himself states that he does not know what those noises were, where they came from, and that he did not make them. Now, why is that such a big deal? Well, if Acerthorn himself did not make them, that means they were added in after the fact. In addition, I identified approximately 17 cut points or jump cuts within that video clip itself, which, if the heart of the video was added after the fact, as Acerthorn alleges he did not make them, and there was significant cutting, then fair use would absolutely be very much a factor, as the quote-unquote heart of the video was of a third-party origin, meaning it's not his, which means the clip would not serve as a market replacement for his accidental livestream, which would very much be transformative, as he himself admits the heart of the clip was not of his creation. And that would also potentially allow for the clip to be a form of visual commentary. After all, commentary need not be verbal or text in origin. So if Acerthorn wishes to continue along with that argument that such a clip does not qualify for fair use, he must also admit to the sounds originating from him, which also means he literally just perjured himself to the court.
Extortion?
Agreed. How would you feel like if someone tried to make your life descend into hell by ruining you legally, financially, and socially, then tried to ruin your hobby while they're at it, only to then turn around and try to extort you and make you feel bad for simply being in a Discord?
Inciting the doxing of other people for a price?
I'm offering a payment of up to $100 if you can give me his real name and address. Anything else that assists me in locating him, I'll still pay you based on what I feel the information is worth.
And any other number of offenses that, as of now, SidAlpha is looking into suing him for. I hope Sid gets him for everything under the sun, and makes it so that Acerthorn never sees anything more than $5 to his name for the rest of his life. I doubt he's going to have much, if any, resistance from the Mold Huffer. Because the best thing about Acerthorn is that despite every bit of evidence of him being a piece of shit, in spite of him being curb-stomped by the community for months on end, in spite of him rarely, if ever, getting anything more than an arbitrary victory for the charges being dismissed or dropped, and in spite of the hell he's made for the dozens of small channels who dare to question his backwards-ass logic, Sid and his interest in seeing Acer fail is the most attention he will ever have in what remains of his pathetic life. It says quite a lot that Acerthorn has tried his damnedest to sue several multi-billion-dollar corporations for sums of money that would otherwise cripple them and leave thousands of people out of a job, and in at least 2 occasions go against state governors with malicious intent to siphon their treasury dry, and yet none of the above have ever acknowledged him in any way, sweeping him under the rug as soon as the cases are dismissed and carrying on with their business. That's how much of an absolute nothing burger Acer was, is, and will always be, and that's why he's at the bottom of the list. And it's why Nazo gets the spot above him. Both are malicious pieces of shit with completely retarded ideas, but in the same way I do for a dark joke told very well, I have to tip my hat to Nazo for the fact that in his dedication to being his own brand of shitty, he actually managed to piss off the company he was personally affecting to the point that they want to see him, his children, and his children's children in debt for decades. Meanwhile, Acerthorn can't get a reaction out of any of the companies or governors he targets, because he's not even a blip on anyone's radar. So, if you've paid attention, that's 5 prominent examples of people abusing YouTube's systems to silence people, 4 of which outright abuse the DMCA, while 1 was more of a bogus privacy complaint than DMCA abuse. But I'm grouping them in with the same abusers, on the principle that these people are a danger to other content creators with a lengthy track record of who and how badly they affected people. And of these 5, 2 definitely got away with violating the Fair Use Act, 1 disappeared into the nothing, 1 got caught and is being ripped apart by the legal system, and another has lost but isn't receiving the punishment. All of which YouTube has done everything they can to avoid making any statement regarding why they allowed these people to go through with these claims so clearly bogus. Truth is, they don't need to make such a statement. The answer is clear as day. The YouTube copyright system is so open to manipulation that it allows these scumbags to file a claim with the intent of removing videos or entire channels in some cases. So long as their claims look convincing enough, they'll go through. McLovin, you better eat your heart out with this opportunity. With the only potential obstacle in such a claim being the 2 bolded sentences at the bottom of the form saying they better not lie, or else YouTube will give an empty thread of tattling about their crime. Nothing more. Just please don't lie or you will be a naughty boy, is all YouTube thinks they need to say to stop people from abusing the DMCA system. They rely on this one thing, and the hope that people remember the other times in the past that the community fought back and won against people going through the same motions as those filing fraudulent takedowns. You can see how effective this strategy is by the fact that it's repeated this much in a single year alone. If I wanted, I could even add older examples, ranging from Suzy Liu and David DeFranco to Derek Savage and Viacom, all of them being an example of why YouTube needs to add some kind of immediate punishment to empirically false claims, or better yet, to not leave something as big as this that has the ability to destroy any channel up to the faulty bots. Hell, if YouTube would just invest some of the money into fixing said bots that handle these copyright issues, instead of constantly updating and tuning the bots that search for any use of the 3 N-words they don't want you using, just something. But ultimately, YouTube doesn't see this as an issue, and they've got no fire under their ass pushing them into making the necessary changes. So this issue of DMCA abuse and people negatively affecting other users for malicious intent, yeah, it's gonna keep on happening. Now, I don't think anything is going to get as big as Axeman vs. Quantum and all of its absurdity. Very little can top that. Unless we have someone going full retard and trying to pull this fraudulent takedown bullshit to remove election ads this fall, or at any point in the future, for more than just American elections. Now, I would absolutely love to be optimistic and hopeful that YouTube has some kind of safeguard against this hypothetical example, but to quote one of the abusers directly, hell, you could make a Google account right now, go to YouTube Studio, and submit a takedown request on any video you want. And, just a little food for thought about this hypothetical scenario, it would absolutely be the end of YouTube as we know it. Because assuming someone on either side of the aisle saw that some random bitter opponent was able to contribute to their loss or even just the slightest dip in their poll numbers because of their ads suddenly and abruptly being taken down for whatever reason they see fit, naturally the person losing numbers is going to be pretty enraged and want to lash out at both the person pulling this kind of stunt and the site that allowed it to happen in the first place. Suddenly, word spreads and governments see the threat this has to their power over people, and they want none of it. Lawsuits are filed and YouTube scrambles to shut it up as soon as possible in the least expensive way they can. They introduce a half-baked idea with the intent of settling their worries and ensuring them, as well as the corporations that fund YouTube, are protected and barely affected by this change. Meanwhile, everyone else on the site has to walk on eggshells and worry if getting unfairly banned for something stupid will be the least of their worries. Tell me, viewer, am I describing the hypothetical implementation of a faulty system to prevent future copyright abuse on the big leagues? Or am I describing the actual implementation of a system like COPA? A system they only introduced once they were caught aggressively sending ads to children. A system that has a proven track record of negatively affecting channels that do everything in their power to follow the guidelines. This is what we can expect if YouTube doesn't cut this possibility at the roots and start working on a system to solve this issue. Actman suggested some pretty decent ideas, like a screening process to ensure actual copyright holders are the only ones using this.
So it's like, these are kind of red flags that YouTube should probably be looking out for if an account just shows up out of the blue and it's like, hey, 38 copyright takedowns submitted in one day. You know, shouldn't there be like a screening process or someone who looks over your credentials before allowing you to submit copyright takedowns on the platform? I feel like that would just lessen the amount of abuse on it.
Or a dedicated program to regulate copyright issues so long as you're above a certain threshold of subscribers.
I feel like if you're going to have your copyright enforced on YouTube fairly, then you need to be entered into a system where you are approved. Kind of like how you can't make money on YouTube unless you're entered into a system and approved.
I think this is pretty fair on paper. Worst case scenario, YouTube will make it a constant fee copyright holders have to pay to ensure they're in the program. Thus, they milk it for easy money. Now, I'm sure there's some loophole for abuse on either of these ideas that I'm not thinking of, and if you can think of something along those lines, or an even better idea to suggest, by all means, go for it. But at the end of the day, something needs to be done in regards to the YouTube copyright system. Scratch that, something needed to be done years ago. But now that it's become clear just how big of a problem this is, YouTube has no excuse to not step up. Unless they think it's good that in the future we could see stricter government control over the types of online content we upload and watch. And if they do, then it'll beg the question of why anyone would want to visit the site at that point. Alright, that's enough of me on my soapbox about shit beyond my control. Thanks for watching if you stuck around this far and heard me out. I do appreciate it. I can promise some less serious and more fun videos coming, but this was a word salad that kept buzzing in my mind because of how ridiculous it's getting, and how ridiculous it is that we've even come to this point. So I wanted to get it all out there and clear my mind a bit, you know? I doubt it'll be seen by many, but one person hearing it other than me is good enough, so... yeah. Thanks for 300 subs, by the way. And until the next time, I'll talk to y'all later.
I know it's more than that. You're more than a father and my own father is to me.
Look, maybe I can take you to a ball game or something. Would you like that?
No, that's not what I mean. No, I mean it like this.